It was almost midnight when Jacob and the girl stepped through the glowing entrance of Granlaga, a posh club nestled along the quieter edges of Kilimani Upper Hill. Outside, the city hummed in its usual rhythm, cars, sirens, and the occasional drunk laugh weaving through the night. But inside, Granlaga pulsed with its own heartbeat. Strobe lights dancing across velvet walls, bass lines thudding deep in the chest, and perfume-soaked air wrapping itself around everyone like silk. Jacob looked like a man who hadn't smiled in years. Mid-40s, tall with sharp cheekbones and tired eyes. His shirt was freshly pressed, his watch expensive. But there was something restless about him. Denise walked slightly behind him. She was in her early 20s, stunning in that effortless, dangerous kind of way. Her jeans hugged her just right, and her braided hair shimmered under the club lights. But her eyes kept darting to her phone and her wristwatch. They were led to a booth in the far corner, away from the loudest speakers, but still within reach of the energy. Jacob slid in first and waved a waiter over. "Get us a bucket, the green bottles, and something to eat. Steak for me. She'll choose." Denise blinked out of her thoughts and glanced at the menu. Fries and chicken wings. The waiter nodded and left. Jacob poured himself a glass of Heineken from the frosted bottle and raised it toward her. "To the night." She smiled lightly and raised her glass, but only took a small sip. He downed his in one go. They sat in a strange kind of comfort. Not quite strangers, but not quite close. The kind of awkward closeness that belongs to two people pretending to know each other better than they do. "So," he said, leaning back, "you said you're in campus?" "Yeah. Kenyatta University, education, second year. I want to teach. High school kids, English mostly." "That's noble." She shrugged. "Someone has to." He smiled again, just a twitch of the lips. "My name? Jacob," he said, extending a hand across the table. She took it. "Denise." She smiled. He studied her. "You don't look like a Denise." "What do I look like?" He considered. "Trouble." She laughed, but the sound didn't reach her eyes. Her gaze flicked back to her phone. Tap, lock, pocket. "You? What do you do?" "Doctor, Kenyatta Hospital, surgery wing." Her brows lifted. "Wow." "Still studying, though," he added. "Master's. University of Nairobi." "That's impressive. Must be hard." "Hard doesn't cover it." He reached for another beer. Long shifts, sleepless nights, and cadavers. She blinked. "Cadavers?" He nodded. "Dead bodies." Be gone. You patch what you can. If they make it, they make it. If they don't, you wash your hands and then move on. That's cold. "It's survival," he said, sipping again. "The first time I lost a patient, I cried. The 50th, I just signed the papers." She was quiet for a while. "But it must take a toll," she said. "Everything does." His voice had dropped now, lower, heavier. The music thumped behind them. People were laughing, dancing. The club now swollen with the Friday night crowd. But their corner felt like a different world. "Marriage is falling apart," Jacob muttered. "My wife thinks she's some holy prophet, always praying, always judging. But she doesn't ask how I am, what I see, what I feel. She only values her Bible and church." Denise tilted her head. You should talk to someone. I'm talking now. He reached for his third bottle. And you? What's with the watch? She flinched. What? You keep checking it. And your phone, waiting for someone? Number, just a habit. You're not scared of me, are you? She didn't answer. I'm not a bad guy, Denise. I help people. I save lives. But sometimes I need a night where I'm not Dr. Jacob. Just an ordinary guy enjoying himself. She smiled weakly, reaching out to pat his chest gently. I get it. Drink, he said, pushing her glass closer. You can trust me. She sipped slowly, but her eyes kept wandering. He leaned in. You have trust issues. I can tell? Maybe? The waiter returned with their food. Plates clattered on the table. Jacob dug in hungrily, but Denise only picked at her fries. You eat like a bird, he said, chewing. She shrugged. Not really hungry. He watched her for a moment. You ever been in love? She shook her head. Not real love. Would you know if it came knocking? She looked at him then. For a long time. No smile, no blink. Maybe. And then she turned away. Jacob took another drink. Outside their booth, the world spun on. But inside, something strange was beginning to settle. A kind of fog. The start of something neither of them could quite name. Not yet. The music inside Granlaga Luxus was now roaring. Drums, horns, bass lines like war chants. The club was alive with movement, dancers grinding under strobe lights, laughter flying from table to table. But Jacob and Denise? They had slipped into their own world. Their voices had lowered. Their bodies leaned closer. They spoke now, not as strangers, but as two people curious, maybe tempted by what might come next. They had drifted from talk of med school and teaching dreams to the messiness of the world. Rising AI, foreign wars, failing schools, and greedy politicians who swallowed the country's future like hyenas at a feast. Denise had opinions, strong ones. Jacob liked that. He respected women with fire in their voice. But then, out of nowhere, he leaned in, eyes locked on her like a wolf, trying to gauge distance before a pounce. Baby girl, He cleared his throat. His fingers drummed against his half-empty bottle. Would you marry me? She blinked. The question was sudden and ridiculous. Yet he looked serious. Dead serious. I mean it, he said. You're beautiful, charming. You make me feel like a man. Your eyes are burning my heart. She let out a short, breathy laugh. You're joking. I'm not. Denise placed her bottle down, slowly. Her voice softened. But you're married. He exhaled through his nose. We're not in a good place. Haven't been for years. I'm thinking of divorcing her. You just met me, she said, and I've made up my mind. She leaned back, arms folded across her chest, her long nails tapping her elbow. Her eyes wandered again, to the dance floor, to her watch, to her phone. I'll think about it, she said at last, with a half smile. But for now, I just want to focus on my studies. Jacob nodded, smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. His jaw tightened. He took another drink. His mood shifted, just slightly, but she noticed. Moments passed. Laughter from nearby tables, a spilled drink, a shriek of joy from someone at the bar. Then Jacob looked at his watch. It's getting late. Yeah, He leaned forward. His voice was low, husky, tired. "I hope you're still ready for the night." She raised her brows. "What night?" "Our night," he said. "We talked about it on tender. You agreed everything, remember?" She didn't speak. I need to release this stress. Feel something, anything. Please don't say no." It was the first time she saw him smile, really smile. For a moment, he looked like someone else. Younger, softer, and stupid. He looked so broken, and she felt for him. She gave a crooked grin. "Sure, I'm all yours, but it depends on how much we're talking." He chuckled. "You said $10 a bullet. I want 3 bullets out of my system tonight." Her laugh was sweet and sharp. "Make it 15 per bullet." Jacob winced. "I don't have that kind of cash." "You're a doctor." "I'm broke tonight." Denise sighed, pretending to think. "Fine, but only because I like your smile. You're a gentleman." "Deal." They stood, gathered their things. He paid the bill in cash, left a tip, and led her out of the club. Outside, the city was quieter. A few taxis blinked on the curb. Dogs barked in the distance. They walked across the street to Naita's Lounge, a lavish hotel, its grand entrance framed by polished marble columns and soft golden lights that shimmered above the name, etched in elegant cursive. The lobby exhaled wealth, velvet chairs, glistening chandeliers, and that unmistakable scent of imported perfume and polished wood. At the reception desk, Jacob leaned forward. 1 room, 1 night. "Room 113, the clerk said, handing over the key card. "3rd floor." It was now just after 1 a.m. They rode the elevator in silence. Denise looked tired. Jacob looked desperate, hungry. A man drowning, clutching at anything that felt like hope. His trouser looked heavy with something. The room was dim, lit only by a bedside lamp. Simple furniture, brown curtains, a queen-size bed covered in white sheets. They sat side by side on the mattress. Jacob reached out, brushing her shoulder, his fingers trembling slightly. She didn't flinch, but her face was unreadable. He leaned in, kissed her cheek, then her neck. She didn't respond. He tried again. "Come on, relax. Let's enjoy this heaven on earth." She stared at him, cold, still. Jacob's hands moved faster now, touching, searching, like a man possessed. "Let's do a motorboat, please," he whispered. "Your cruise ship of my sailing. Oh my God." But Denise barely moved. He kissed her harder. She turned away. But then she sighed, gave in. He thought it was desire. It wasn't. In one smooth motion, her hand slipped into her handbag. He didn't notice. Too focused, too lost, too alive. Then, steel flashed, a glint of moonlight on a small military knife. She moved quickly, with purpose. Before he could react, the blade sank deep into his neck. His body jerked. A sharp gasp. Blood sprayed across the bed like spilled wine. He grabbed at his throat, mouth wide, choking. "Why?" he croaked, blood foaming at his lips. Denise said nothing. She just stared at him and laughed. A soft, twisted giggle at first, then louder, darker, as if the devil inside her was finally free. Jacob collapsed on the bed, twitching, then still. She sat at the edge, her back to the corpse, her breath ragged, her fingers stained with blood. And then she cried. For 30 full minutes, she sat there weeping, tears mixed with mascara, her blouse soaked at the collar. Behind her, Jacob's body lay lifeless. Cold, eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling that would never answer his final question. The room was silent now, save for her sobs. She sat still for a moment, breathing in the thick silence. Her sobs had stopped. Her eyes, once filled with tears, now shone with a strange clarity. Calm. Empty. She stood up from the edge of the bed, wiped her face with the hem of her blouse, and walked to the door. Without a single glance at the lifeless body sprawled behind her, she locked it softly, almost tenderly. Then she left. Outside, Nairobi was quiet. The city skyline blinked peacefully in the distance. Neon lights from late-night joints flickered in the streets below like fireflies. From up here, everything looked normal, beautiful even. But in Denise's eyes, the night had just begun. She walked briskly, no taxi, no boda boda. Just her sneakers brushing the concrete. About 20 minutes later, she reached her apartment block, 4th floor, room 7B. She didn't turn on the lights. She didn't need to. She knew exactly where to reach. From under her bed, she pulled out a long black duffel bag and another item, wrapped neatly in black polythene. Inside, a brand new axe. Its handle gleamed under the faint moonlight that crept through the blinds. She changed her clothes, something dark, easy to clean, and tucked her hair into a hoodie. Then she walked back. Same route, same silence. She returned to Naita's lounge at around 1:45 a.m., slipped in through the side door she'd propped open earlier with a folded napkin. No one saw her. The room still smelled of blood and death. The body hadn't moved. Jacob's face was pale, mouth slightly open as if still mid-question. Denise stood over him, silent. Then, with mechanical precision, she unwrapped the axe. What followed didn't last long. She hacked him, separating body and head. There was no rage in her, no screams, just focus, as if she were cleaning her room or chopping vegetables. The sound of metal against flesh echoed in the quiet room, software wet, final. When it was done, she placed the weapon in the sink and washed it carefully. Then she cleaned the head, gently, as though washing a newborn baby. She whispered something under her breath as she did so. Something ancient, foreign. Then, eyes closed, she kissed its forehead. After rinsing the blood from her hands and wiping the sink clean, Denise picked up her phone with steady fingers. She dialed a number she had memorized but never saved. It rang only once. "I've done it," she whispered. "Mission accomplished." There was a short silence on the other end, then a deep male voice replied, calm and commanding. "Good. Clear any trace of evidence. Don't take a taxi. Walk. You know where to go and what to do." The call ended just as quickly as it began. A moment later, she stuffed it into the duffel bag. She took one last look around the room. No fingerprints, no blood spatters. She had covered her tracks well. She pulled the sheets off the bed and wiped every surface again, just in case. Then she stepped out, locking the door behind her as if nothing had ever happened. At exactly 2:31 a.m., she arrived at Batani Apartments, a run-down building in Parklands, known for its quiet tenants and broken cameras. She walked up 3 flights to room 13. The corridor smelled of damp concrete and fried eggs. No one was watching. She entered. Switched on the light. The room was small and empty, save for a large, faded carpet in the middle and strange chalk markings around the edges. A brass bowl sat in one corner, filled with ash and blackened feathers. She walked to the center of the room and slowly unzipped the bag. The head rolled out onto the carpet. She placed it upright, face toward her, then undressed quietly, folding her clothes with care before placing them near the wall. Naked now, she sat cross-legged on the floor, positioning the head between her knees. Her eyes fluttered shut. Her lips began to move. The words didn't belong to any earthly language. They were low, guttural, ancient. They came from somewhere else, somewhere deeper. Blood for silence, soul for light. Money now flows into my world, for blood spirits have drunk. I give unto you him, and me bring wealth. She rocked slightly as she chanted. Her hands hovered above the head, trembling. The air in the room shifted, thicker, colder. A breeze with no source stirred the curtains. The light flickered. She kept chanting. The shadows on the wall danced strangely. Shapes appeared that didn't belong. For a brief moment, the head seemed to smile. Or maybe it was just the light playing tricks. Denise didn't flinch. She was determined to see something, someone. She was home now. This was her real world. The night in Karen was heavy and quiet, the kind of stillness that presses against the windows like a secret waiting to be confessed. Inside the Dallins court, the only sound was the soft clink of glass against porcelain as Mrs. Jacob sipped her wine. She was seated on her plush cream couch, legs curled beneath her, a velvet robe clinging to her frame like royalty on edge. On the television across the room, Day of the Jackal played in low volume, the scene where the assassin prepares for the perfect shot. She loved the precision, the discipline, the elegance of the kill. It soothed her somehow. Assassin series were her favorite shows. A half-empty wine bottle rested beside her on the glass coffee table. Her eyes flicked to her phone for the 100th time that hour, still nothing. Upstairs, the house was asleep, her 2 daughters tucked in. The nanny long retired, but she remained in the dim light, the weight of waiting pulling on her face like an invisible hand. Then it came. A soft buzz, the screen lit up. Unknown number. She answered quickly, but with practiced calm. Hello? There was a pause before a woman's voice came through. Soft, deliberate, well-trained. Good evening, Mrs. Jacob, the woman said. Her back straightened slightly. Yes, she replied, careful to keep her tone neutral. This is just a courtesy call. The job has been completed as requested. We have fulfilled our side. Now we expect the same from you. Mrs. Jacob blinked. Who am I speaking to? She asked. I'm the secretary at the Deletus agency, the woman replied, unbothered. Just that I'm calling to confirm delivery. Mrs. Jacob stared at the paused scene on her TV screen. A sniper rifle aimed at a balcony, one breath away from the shot. You mean it's done? She asked slowly. Confirmed. He is no longer breathing. Final instructions were carried out cleanly. As for the girl, she's no longer in contact. We do not babysit. You're now free to roam. Mrs. Jacob took a long breath. The wine in her hand trembled ever so slightly. Good, she said at last, barely above a whisper. I'm sending the money right now. There was silence for a second. Then the voice asked, Do you want the location? Location? Mrs. Jacob asked. To see for yourself. She's in Batani Apartments, Parklands with it. The head, room 13. And if you want us to finish her, just say the word. Tick-tock, Mrs. Jacob, tick-tock. Something shifted in her face. A flicker of calculation, of strategy. Hell yeah. Can you carry the job right now? She said coldly. A moment. I'm getting back to you. Click. The call ended. Mrs. Jacob remained frozen for a moment. the phone still at her ear. Her reflection stared back at her from the black glass of the TV screen. She looked older, harder. Then she lowered the phone and set it gently on the table. A smile slowly formed at the corners of her mouth. Not joy, not relief. Something colder. She leaned back and whispered to herself,